Hey, welcome back to Mill. My name's Bill. It's Pirate Solutions Forestry and treat especial. It's been a long day. Been framing all day and poured myself a drink and putting my tools away. I'm going to show you the shed and maybe explain a couple things. I want to clarify something from yesterday too. So, give you a bird's eye view here. So, it's all up. I still got to put my double top plate on. Um, go walk you around this way. So I have a couple of custom windows. I'm going to take you inside and show you those up close. I'm going to make sure that one fits. I just framed that one. We just put that wall up. And we got it all screwed together in the corners, all plumb, all fastened down to the deck with just 4-inch screws, and I'll put some timber locks in it. Oh, hold on. That's like the first time that thing's gone off all day. I'll put some timber locks down through the base frame after I put the double top plate on. I have to mill the double top plate. I'm down to nothing. This is all I got left from all the 2x4s I had lying around. Used all my scraps. I still have to put blocking in halfway up these walls for the board and batten. So I could just attach it the way that it is, but I'm going to put a row of blocking all the way around halfway up the wall, so it'll give me a third spot to attach, so I can attach the board and batten down at the bottom, and then in the middle, and then at the top on the top plate below the rafters. So we got our door framed in. I shot for a 3-foot door, but what I had to do was I had to move that king stud over so it would fall when the one is in the back, because that's going to be under a rafter. So I ended up with a 3'1" door. I think you can see that little mark down there. I ended up going an inch bigger. So the door's 3'1". This window right here, let's try it. I'm going to back you up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to grab the window. It's leaning up against my bobcat bucket. Let's try and put it in. And then I'll show you what I did with the sills. Kind of get a little creative with the sills. So I have some old windows that my friend gave us because we were doing a job building an art gallery for a customer, and they needed a window, so we gave them some options. Oh, it's perfect. Fits perfect. And these windows are going to open in like kind of like this. They're going to open in like that. That's very cool. It fits perfect. I've already checked the one on the other one. I did that one yesterday, so I know that one fits. It's a little bit different. It's a little more elaborate window, and I kind of wanted that one facing the house. Well, let's go in. I'm going to show you what I did with the sills. Now, all my floorboards, I shiplapped them right in the field. Here, I'm going to take you out of the holder and so I can get you up close to some of this stuff. And like I said, I want to clarify something that I was talking about yesterday with king studs and jack studs. And so if you look at my floor, you can see how it's shiplapped, and that's so that as these boards shrink, there won't be a gap for mice to get in. I did this all right in the field with a router when I put the floor down on the deck. Now, if you see my sill here, what my sill has is a 5-degree angle on it like this, and the window sits here. So what I'll end up doing is I'll put a stop in. I'll put a stop in around the window for the window to rest up against. So when the window's in the hole, it rests up against the stop so there's no gap. Any water that comes down the outside will end up on that sill and sheeting off. And I'll have a latch here with 2 hinges so that the window can open in. Same thing with this one here. Now, I made a mistake. I don't know exactly how I did it, but I ended up making a mistake on this one with my width size. I think what I did was I measured a bunch of windows and I pulled the wrong measurement down here. I had the height perfect, but I had the width wrong, so I had to fur it out. And all I ended up doing was cutting a 5-degree angle with a little notch on both sides, and that got me so that I only have a little like 1/4 inch gap on both sides. So it'll be perfect for putting the stop around. Same thing, it'll open. My workbench is going to be right there, about 3 feet off the ground. I'll have a 2 foot wide workbench on that wall where all my sharpening stuff's going to be. And then on the hot days, I can just open the window, and that's going to be cool. So this is just all stuff that we milled out here that I had lying around the mill yard. I pulled it all out. You can see some different colored pieces that have been sitting around longer and so on and so forth. I got a brace plumb right now, but it doesn't really need to be because it's all screwed together. So what I want to talk about was king studs, jack studs, and queen studs. When I do a window, typically I call my studs a king stud, a queen stud, and a jack stud, just for so that I know that all three of them are different lengths. And that's not a typical queen in the middle. That is a jack. That is a cripple. It's not a jack. But what I call a jack is I call a jack holding up a header. Okay, so as you can see in the door here, you got a king stud going up and then a jack stud coming up and holding up the header. And I do like to trap my headers. You see, trap my headers down, trap my headers down. That is not a typical queen. I went to school for architectural drafting, structural engineering. So it is a king and a jack and a cripple. But when I'm framing windows only, I call them a king, queen, and a jack. So I know that they're three different heights, and they're pulling three different. They're holding up three different things. So the jack's my what I call a jack is holding up the sill. The queen is holding up the header, and the king stud's holding up the top plate. Uh, Same thing over here. So I call them a king, queen, and a jack when I'm marking them out. But it is a king, a jack, and a cripple. Just for clarification, that is a king and a jack. So I did want to clarify that because yesterday when I was framing and I was writing them down, and I denote when I'm getting into like say a complicated wall like this one. I'm going to back up. It's not super complicated, but you can start to get into a lot of stuff going on when you have rafters coming over that you have to support, a window, a door, all on the same wall. However you lay it out, whatever's familiar to you is, I think, the best way to do it to avoid any confusion. So when I do a window, this is the typical way that I do it in sill. I don't trap the sill on a typical window. The top, that's a double top header on its side, nailed together, just because the dimension works out. And you can see the sill also has a little straight up and down ridge here. So again, so the water can't back up, so it'll just sheet off. A lot of times I'll just angle a 2x4 and then cut my cripples on the bottom at that angle. So I'd cut a 5-degree angle on all three of these and then just angle my sill. But because I wanted them to open, I wanted a flat bottom. So this is the way I did it. I think it'll work out great. It's all pine, so it's going to be what it's going to be. If you didn't watch me frame this base, you can go back and watch those videos. You can watch me shiplap those boards too. They're back a little bit because I've been waiting to do this, but yeah, it's all ready to go. So next step, I got to mill some lumber for my double top plate. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to half lap the corners so it ties the whole structure together. Really all you need to do is you need to run a full one from the outside of there to the outside of there. And same thing on the back side to tie that wall into that wall into that wall and hold them in like this. But I like it to be continuous all the way around. Some people stagger them. You can do that The only problem with doing that is that I would need to add a stud right here. Like if it was a house, there would be one here spaced over a little bit, so you had sheetrock screw base on the other side of that. So it would be spaced over like one stud. So you'd have a stud, a space, and a stud. In a shed, there's no need for that, but also that would support if you had a joint in your top plate up there so that you had a short top plate on this side, then it would support the top plate to the ground. Well, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to half lap them all and nail right through them. And then I will be using 2x6 rafters. I decided on an 8-pitch instead of a 12. And I've already got my rafter detail printed out. All I have to do is just cut a master. And what I like to do is I will cut my master on the chop saw, and then I will cut all the rest of it out here in the field with a circular saw. And I finish my cuts with a Japanese pull saw. I keep one in to fall over. I keep them in the back of the truck. So if you look in my truck, I've always got a big silky a Japanese pull saw. That is a Gayakucho Ryoba Noko, and then just a marathon push saw. And these will cut pretty much anything. So if I had a saw go down, if I had my circular saw break or something out in the field, I can cut everything with these. We have an angle finder in there too, but those stay in the truck all the time. I could have done this whole frame cutting it with that push saw, with that marathon saw. It cuts pretty fast. It cuts pretty clean. Cutting through a 2x4 is quick. But I want to show you guys, and yeah, it's moving along. I can't wait to have it done. All my equipment that normally sits under my workbench over there is going to go inside here. I may even, I don't know yet. I don't know if I'll do a slab. I think I'm going to do a slab workbench in there. I'm going to cut a big, thick slab workbench. Something nice and thick, probably with a natural edge on it. Something like what my Bobcat door sitting on right here. I'll probably make my workbench out of something like this. Big white pine natural edge front. Fasten it to the walls. But we are getting cleaned up a little bit out here. I burned a whole bunch of stuff today. A lot of these piles have gone way down. I used a lot of wood out of there, and now when I sheathe this thing, we'll be using kind of everything lying around here, especially when I do the roof. Anything I can use, I will use. So that's pretty much it. She's all done. Well, she's not all done. I got to put the blocking in still, but she's up and ready for a top plate, ready for some rafters. When I get done with the rafters, I'll sheet the roof. Probably use 1-inch pitch pine. I got a whole bunch of 16 footers over there. I'll have to cut another log, but that's what I'll use for my rough sheathing. Then I'll paper it, and then I will put a metal roof on top of that. And we'll build the door. And yeah, away we go. So I think that 8x10 wise, I think is plenty roomy enough in here for what I want to use it for. I think it's going to be perfect, and I think I'm going to put a wood stove in that corner right there, a little one. Little wood stove, little bump out, little chimney. There's no danger in here, but I think that's kind of the plan, because it'll be pretty cold in here if I don't finish it off inside and insulate it. Now, it'd still be cold, even if I insulated it without a heat source. So I think a wood stove is going to be a necessity, and I've always got enough scraps lying around here to be able to, keep a nice little pile in there and start a little fire in the morning when I come out and keep it nice and warm. So that's what's going on. Before I get any milling done, I've got a bunch of edging to do and a bunch of cleanup to do. And I've got a bunch of orders piled up. I had a whole ship pile, like 4 orders come in yesterday and another order today. So and a job come in that I got to go do. So it's going to be a busy week next week. It's going to be a busy weekend too. I got to go do this job or go look at it tomorrow. I don't know what the hell I'm getting into. They're putting in rock stairs on a house, and they took out the existing stairs and they exposed the front of the house, and there's a bunch of rot in the sill, and they want me to come fix it. So I got to go look at it, see what I'm getting into. Um, I told them, I said, just looks like it needs some ice and water and a piece of cellular PVC. And he said, no, there's a bunch of rot. And I said, well, I'm not tearing their house apart. You're going to have to get somebody else to do that. I'm too busy to get into a full house restoration project. So that's pretty much it. We're going to get you guys back in the holder and do a sign off here. I appreciate the watch always. And if you guys have any questions or comments, then hit me up. I did this whole thing just with a circular saw and a nail gun and a screw gun. That was it. It's all I used. Circular saw, a nail gun, and a screw gun. Um, Shooting 3 1/4 Galvies. Doesn't get any simpler. I'm lucky in the fact that I can cut really, really square with, by eye. I don't need a guide or anything like that. So could I have brought my chop saw out? I could have, but I didn't need to. I don't bring it very often, almost any time, even if I'm doing a big deck or something like that. The only time I'd bring it is if when I'm sheeting a deck, when I'm putting down the decking, then I would bring my chop saw to make sure everything's perfect. But other than that, I do 99% of what I'm doing just with a circular saw. And I did wear the Mechanix gloves today. I really like this pair. It's the first time I've worn them. They just sent them to me. They did get a little bit of wear just using them today, so I don't think they're going to last very long, but they got some real rubber stuff. You can use your foam with the fingers. They fit nice and tight. They fit nice and tight. I get no problem grabbing stuff out of my tool belt, and um, we'll see how long these fingers last because they are showing a little bit of wear, and I've only worn them one day. So if I wore these for a week, they'd have holes in them, I think. But I imagine that's a balance of trying to get um, them to be able to transfer through a phone screen. These are prototypes, so they're not out on the market yet. And I will give Mechanix feedback on them and take it from there. So I just want to give you guys an update, show you the shed or the rough framing for the box of the shed done. It's going to look pretty cool with the board and batten. It's pretty basic. If you look at my, never mind. I have another one over there that is just board and batten, and this will look similar. It'll gray out and it'll look like it's been here 100 years at some point. So thanks for the watch. Appreciate it. I am going to go sit down. Well, get my tools put away and sit down for a while, and tomorrow go see what the hell's going on with this rotten sill plate on this house and what needs to be done. It's all exposed now. These knuckleheads. You don't rip out if you can't put it back together, don't rip it apart, and then panic call me and say we need you to come right away. I got jobs piling up, so that's what I've been trying to get away from with the sawmill, trying to get out of the field and doing that stuff. There's great money in it, but you got to balance quality of life too. So my friend Iggy did pass away last night. For those of you who have been wondering, for those of you who are still watching this video, most of you probably signed off. For those of you who are still watching, Iggy did pass away last night. God rest his soul. He was probably toasting around the fires of Valhalla last night and telling stories about all of us. So keep his wife Audrey in your prayers, and he was a good friend for a lot of years. A really good guy, really funny, just happy, good guy. And he handled this cancer death sentence like Harry Stamper, like the bravest person I've ever known. But that's it for now. Appreciate the watch always, and Inspire Solutions out.